Yo, what is up everybody? Welcome back to the channel for a brand new video. In today's video, we are talking about the stunning piece of news that broke last night. As you all know by now, OpTic and Dallas Empire are basically merging for a CDL team. If you enjoyed the video, definitely let me know and support the channel by leaving a like down below. Leave a comment as well with your thoughts on the video and your thoughts on the news, most importantly, because I'm sure you all have thoughts. You know, you're going to hear mine, but I want to hear yours too. And also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one from me in the future. I do appreciate all of your support so very much. So it has been a while since I made a news video. I have kind of gotten away from it, but I've wanted to talk about this one because it's obviously a very important thing happening in the Call of Duty scene. As you see on screen, broken by Crone last night, the Dallas Empire are in talks to acquire the OpTic brand, and then the Chicago Call of Duty League spot, which was or is owned by Energy, will be up for sale. I will say really quickly, I did know about this ahead of time. I fumbled the bag big time by not leaking it, but my fears were that nobody would believe me and that I would basically be clowned as being a nobody and not having any real sources. So I understand that. If you do believe me, I appreciate it. You can go over to my Twitter. You can see a couple of things I put out where it does appear like I did know ahead of time, but it doesn't matter. If you believe me or not, that does not matter. What matters is this is a big deal, and it's happening. And I also will say I did not really know the whole details. I just knew about the merger, but the details are really unfortunate, and we will unpack them as we get there. But first of all, let's just talk about the roster. Scump, Dashy, Shotzzy, Illy. It's an interesting roster. It's one that is obviously very talented. It has a lot of slaying potential, and I think they will be a very good search and destroy team because pretty much all of those guys are like very good individual search and destroy players. Illy struggled a little bit this year, but he also had his bright spots. He's a talented player. We all know that. He's been that good at search for a while now, since like back to the Black Ops 3 days when he was like 15. But looking beyond that, one thing that I'm not quite sold on is the ARs. So it's not that I don't think they're talented. Of course, Dashy is very talented, and Illy, he had his ups and downs this year, but he was very good on LAN, and he got better as the year ended, so I think that's promising for him as we approach the new title. However, I don't really think there's a true main AR on this team, and if you watch my videos, you know I'm not really a big fan of that term because I think anybody can do what a main AR does in the sense of holding spawns or rotating or playing a little bit slower. But in this case, I think it's a fair worry because Dashy and Illy both have always been a true flex player. Like, they can get out of sub if it's needed. They can play very aggressive, they can play faster pace, and they're guys you want playing faster pace because they're so talented. But somebody's going to have to slow down and sort of play the spawns, hold the rotations, play a little bit slower like Arcides, like Crim, like Formal did, whoever else. They're going to have to do that. I think it's going to be Illy. I don't think Dashy's a guy you want to slow down. I think, of course, both of them are talented, but Dashy is definitely a better Slayer at this point in time, so you want him getting as many engagements as possible. So Illy will definitely have to sacrifice a little bit of his personal stats, I think, but that's the same thing we saw Arcides do this year, and it worked out really well for them on FaZe, of course. They won 4 times, including champs, so sometimes you have to make sacrifices for the betterment of the team. I think Illy will be the one doing that in this situation. And then Scump and Shotzzy, they're an interesting SMG duo to me because they both kind of play the same role. Like, neither of them, I wouldn't call them true entry subs, but Shotzzy does play very fast, so he's definitely capable of being the first one in, and he's also so talented where there's times where he could be the first one in with nobody even following him up and he'll still be fine. Like, he can just break the hill, pop a 2 or a 3-piece and be good. But then having Scump follow him up, of course, that will be very beneficial for him because Scump, he was still very good this year. He started the year a little bit slower, but by the end of the year, he was a top 10 to 15 player in the game. He was phenomenal. Him and Shotzzy should be a very good SMG duo. Now, moving on from the roster to the actual deal itself, it's kind of unfortunate when you really break down what happened here. So basically, OpTic is being acquired by MV because they really could not have the funding. They didn't have the funding to keep going on their own. Hex was struggling to pay salaries for the OpTic members, or not, maybe not the members like the team, but like the organization, and they just didn't have the funding. And there's 2 ways to look at this. My first take was that, you know, this is kind of, it's bad for the league in my opinion because OpTic is the most popular brand in the league, and they can't even afford to pay their entire organization's salaries and whatever other fees they have to pay, I don't even know. So that looked bad for the league because if they can't pay, like, how can the other teams pay who don't have the social media following the content of OpTic? But then another thought was, you know, it's probably not really the league's fault because Hector has had multiple chances now to raise funding to get investments to go the route that Hastro went with the Empire. When MV was made into the Empire, they literally have an empire now with all the different esports they're involved in. They have a lot of funding and very deep pockets. Hector, on the other hand, was not really doing that. He was sort of sticking to himself. There were no real investors, and it's clearly now it's coming back to bite them. So I have absolutely no idea what route this is going to go. I don't know if Hector's going to focus on content and Hastro will focus on Call of Duty. I don't know if there's going to be other teams that take over the OpTic title, like maybe if there's going to be a CS or a Valorant team. I truly have no idea. I'm not even going to speculate, but All I know is that Hector will be involved somehow. I'm sure he's going to stay in charge of OpTic and their content. I think that would be a very smart move because he clearly has the ability to grow content and to get very popular on social media. And that's part of it. You know, people always want to talk about just championships. And yeah, that's true. And I'm sure that's what the players want. But the organization has to be able to build money and sustain themselves. And they can do a lot of that through their content, through their social media following, through promotions, all of that good stuff. And Hector, he's definitely the one you want in charge of that. So I can see Hector staying in charge of like the YouTube, the promotion, the social media side of things, and then letting Hastro, I would assume Rambo Ray will be the head coach, but I guess we can't say for sure. Let those guys focus on the actual Call of Duty team and bringing them championships. So I think the acquisition makes sense for both organizations. Definitely for OpTic if they're struggling for money, and then just for Empire because it allows them to build through the social media and through the content the way OpTic can do. So it makes sense for both teams. It's just unfortunate the way it went down with OpTic potentially not really being able to pay anybody, and that's why it had to happen. So that's unfortunate, but the merger itself, I think, is a good thing for both parties involved. And then the third part of this whole story is what does this mean for the league? Because the league just had their #1 most popular team and probably their number, I'd say 4 most popular team. I think Dallas is probably behind the FaZe and the LA Thieves. They are now combined and they're going to be replaced by somebody. So who's going to be the one to take that spot? What I have heard, and again, you have no reason to believe me if you don't want to believe me, Cloud9 they are the favorites to buy the spot from Energy. That it wouldn't really surprise anybody given the fact that they've been sort of tweeting about it recently, like hinting at stuff, but I thought the whole time it was for impressions and just for bait. I thought if somebody was going to be buying into the league this year, it was not going to be Cloud9, but they are the favorites. It's not a done deal. That's why it was not included in the report. I have confirmed it with a couple of people that they are the favorites, but again, it is not a done deal. It could be somebody else. I think United might be involved, or they might be involved with a different spot. Maybe they're going to buy the Paris spot. That is just my opinion, though. There are no sources saying that. It just seems like what they've been doing recently. It seems like they're hinting at a potential move back into Call of Duty, which would be cool to see after their success, especially in Black Ops 4. But yeah, Cloud9, most likely, not a guarantee, and then we'll see if something happens with the United, I don't know. But overall, I mean, obviously very stunning news. I think part of it's good for the organizations involved, and you could say it's good for the league, but I probably think it's bad for the league because, like I said, 2 of their 4 most popular teams are now combined into 1. What are the odds of somebody else coming in and being as popular as those teams? Maybe not so much, but it's an interesting dynamic because Envy and OpTic, they've been like the rivalry for so long now, and it wasn't like a bad blood rivalry. It was always in good faith, but it was always definitely a rivalry. So now they're together. That's one less rivalry this league now has, and I think this clearly sets up a major rivalry between this team and FaZe. But don't forget about Ultra. I still think on paper Ultra might be a better team than this, whatever this team's going to be called. I don't know if it's going to be called the OpTic Dallas, Dallas OpTic, OpTic Empire. I have no idea. But I think Toronto might be better than this team, and then FaZe I still have to give the edge to for sure. I think all 4 players at all 4 positions are better than this new team. I think the SMGs are obviously better. They're the top 2 players in the world. Of course, they're better, even though Shotzi is out of his mind. Abizi and Simp are still both better than him and Scump. And then Celium is better than Dashi, not by a wide margin, but it's considerable margin. And then, of course, I do think Arcades is better than Illy, at least at that main AR role, because Illy really has never played it before. And Arcades, even though his stats weren't great, he played that role well this year. So in terms of the in-game, this team might be fighting an uphill battle, but out-of-game, it's just a very newsworthy piece of information. You just don't know what route it's going to go. What will the content look like? What will the team look like? How will the organization change? We don't know, but for now, this is what's going on, and we will see how it unfolds from here. So that's going to do it for the video. If you enjoyed, definitely leave a like down below. Leave a comment as well with your thoughts on this whole acquisition and all this news, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one from me in the future. I do appreciate all of your support so much. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a good day today, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.